Hello, and welcome back to the Veggietales Reference and Easter Egg series, where I go through every single episode of Veggietales and point out all the references I can find. In the previous parts, we've covered the 90s and the 2000s eras of Veggietales, which if you haven't seen, you should go check out. Today we'll be covering all the episodes produced in the 2010s, and finishing up the series. So let's not waste any time and get into it. Before anything, I need to address the references that I missed. In An Easter Carol, this picture in Edmund's room is of a background from Omelette. It's really hard to make out, but it is there. In Babysitter in Denial, there's a poster for a group called N-Spinks. This is likely a reference to the boys in the sink, made more evident when you see all 4 members of the group on the poster. In The Search for Samson's Hairbrush, I'm fairly certain that this picture in the barbershop is of Big Idea staff members, although I can't quite identify them. Also, you can briefly hear the melody of Love Your Neighbor, right before they play the melody of the hairbrush song I previously mentioned. In the letter to Mike Naraki from The Bad Apple, Mayor Blueberry mentions Cheesy E. Rodent, which made its debut an episode prior in The Asparagus of La Mancha. I had previously pointed out a newspaper headline referencing Larryboy in Big River Rescue. I was a little mistaken, as that newspaper actually first appeared during the silly song in Gideon Tuber Warrior. During the silly song in Abe and the Amazing Promise, Dirk is seen wearing a medal from the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything movie. And in The Search for Samson's Hairbrush, this Jeep driven by the Potato is a recolor of Larry's car from Sports Utility Vehicle, and the coin given to the beggar statue is the same one from the Going Up short. And that's it for the references that I missed, so let's move on. In Gelato's shop, you can spot several interesting wood carvings. There's a carving of the Nether Chocolate Bunny from Rack Shack and Benny, the toy Aardvark from Wizard of Oz, what I think is the Boo Boo from Blunders and Boo Booville. Its design doesn't exactly match, so I'm not positive, as well as a pig and a camel, which could be a reference to Tutu from Wizard of Oz and Reginald from Jonah. Barbara Manatee from Endangered Love also appears in this picture. In the museum, most of the art found is recycled from past episodes, like these portraits from the George Mueller story in Gideon, these from Buckingham Palace in Sherlock Holmes, this one of Ephraim Apley from The Bad Apple, and this one from Belly Button in Little Joe. These statues here are Nicholas's parents from St. Nicholas, and this book is written by L. Cuke, most likely referring to Larry the Cucumber. This episode also has a multitude of Jonah references. Cricket states that him being a caterpillar is only half true, which is a line said by Khalil. He also has the Jonah poster hanging in his room, as well as Khalil's Persian rug card. We see the whale return, and after being eaten by it, Cricket suggests they go look for angels, referencing the second chance scene from the movie. At the start of the next episode, Larry can be seen trying on a bunch of familiar hats. There's this bowler hat from the Star of Christmas, and from Sherlock I suppose, Larry's cowboy hat from Moe and the Big Exit, I think Larry's high silk hat, although I think it looks more like Lincoln's hat, the fedora from Minnesota Cuke, the Larryboy helmet, and Larry's paper sack from the second Minnesota Cuke. The opening of Snoodlerella parallels the opening to A Snoodle's Tale, with Bob reading the book, and the blueberry and ducklings from Pistachio return as Snooderella's fashion team. Also from Pistachio, these carnival games at the Most Fair Fair, and these puppets seen at the end. We see the portraits from Sherlock appear in the castle, and a porcupine from Jonah briefly appears in the song. Sweet Pea's father is wearing Melvin's outfit from King George and the Ducky, and during the silly song, Larry makes reference to Ginsu knives, which were the knives featured in the Forgive-O-Matic segment of episode 2. On the countertop, Bob references the Wizard of Oz by mentioning the broken aardvark. He references Little Joe by bringing up Western Bible stories, and references Minnesota Cuke and Moe with the mention of an additional letter. Gideon's marching band outfit reappears during Stewart's song, and Jabba Java cups from Jonah are used at this cafe. Stewart can be seen wearing the cow outfit from Little Joe, and the diner they visit recycles numerous elements from the Malta shop in Minnesota Cuke. There's the Larryboy insignia and the Lutfi picture, these records on the wall, and even this Keep Cold sign. During Bedtime Songs with Junior, you can spy plushies of the Poodle from The Blues with Larry, the Skunk from Sweet Pea Beauty, and Barbara Manatee from Endangered Love. During the editions in 'Twas the Night Before Easter, the Scallions appear singing Barbershop, which is a reference to the yodeling veterinarian of the Alps. The fact that they call themselves a quartet rather than a trio might be a nod to their missing member, Frankencelery. Miss Agnetha returns singing Lost Puppies from Esther, and later we can hear Mr. Nether singing the Bunny song from Rack Shack and Benny. Whether it's the new or original version he's singing is unknown, as they cut out the lines that would determine that. The church from Star of Christmas makes yet another reappearance, and this dog eating a donut is a reference to the Donuts for Benny silly song. Also, the opening melody for Up With Bunnies sounds similar to Listen Little Children from Pistachio.
Bunnies, 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 up with bunnies, they're so furry. Look at little Liliana as her mother shows her how to gather breakfast.
Princess can be seen watching VeggieBeat TV and later listening to VeggieBeat Radio, both being references to VeggieBeat magazine first mentioned in Madame Blueberry. The Larryboy lunchbox from Minnesota Cute reappears, and so does Samson's hairbrush, as well as the truck from the Going Up short. QWERTY also cameos as a regular computer in this episode, and Pepper makes mention of the Stuff Mart from Madame Blueberry.
Radio Stuff Mart.
It's Radio Sweetheart.
The silly song for the next episode, The 8 Polish Christmas Dishes, is more or less taken from the Very Veggie Christmas album. Aside from a few dialogue changes, the song plays out exactly how it did on the CD. The boys in the sink return in this episode with brand new outfits, and Khalil sporting his tow truck outfit from the end of Jonah. Also, their record label, Bob and Larry Records, is consistent with their first appearance in Little Joe. In The Penniless Princess, one of the umbrellas from Minnesota Cute can be seen in Sarah's luggage. Among the many books Sarah has, you can spot A Christmas Carol, Wizard of Oz, and Tom Sawyer, which are potential references to An Easter Carol, Wizard of Oz, and Big River Rescue. Also, Sarah can be seen reading the book of Genesis, specifically the part about Joseph, which was the basis of Little Joe. At the Bumbleyburg Science Museum, you can spot several of the inventions from Blunders in Boo Booville, like Henry's Telephono, Jacques' automatic knitting machine, and Leon's robotic duster. In the Larry Cave, we can see the Art Bugatti bowling plate from the Fib from Outer Space for the last time in the series. What we don't see, however, are the Rumor Reed's glasses seen in the Bad Apple. 2 of the 8 Polish Christmas dishes appear in the silly song, specifically the steamed pierogies and the smoked kielbasas. We see this monkey run toward the Bananarama building, which might be a reference to the cartoon that Alfred was watching in the Bad Apple. And Larry makes mention of the Fib from Outer Space, referencing how he won a dance competition after the episode, which might further explain why he was tired in Josh and the Big Wall. At the start of the next episode, Larry mentions getting stuck in a rodeo with a pair of bulls, which might be a reference to the Song of the Cebu, although there is only one bull pictured, with the other being a Cebu. You can spot Noah's umbrella a couple times in this episode, and if you look closely at this newspaper, part of it talks about George Mueller, who had a segment dedicated to him in Gideon Tuba Warrior. And this part over here is a message to eagle-eyed fans such as myself. It reads, "Okays, so now that I know people are actually reading this type for the fun of it, I feel the need to say that I hope you like Mr. Hodge, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Wall, and Mr. Trouch. Hope the spelling, guys. Pretty bad, I'll wager. Okay, have a nice day." In the silly song, Larry wears his outfit from Night Before Easter, and later we can spot a League of Incredible Vegetables coffee mug. I wasn't able to find any references in McLarry in the Stinky Cheese Battle, which is something that hasn't happened in quite a while. Moving on, Bob's character in Mary Larry is named Philip, which might be a reference to the creator Phil Vischer. Little Peas on the Prairie from Princess and the Popstar can be seen playing at the TV Shack. We also see pictures of Ephraim Apley and Mueller's children again, as well as one of Larry from the Tooth Day silly song. The sun from the Grapes of Wrath returns on the Sunny Sunshine Bakery, and you can also see Mr. Lunt eating a cheeseburger, which could be a reference to his cheeseburger. This next episode has numerous callbacks to Are You My Neighbor? The USS Apple Pie makes a return, and so do Popcorn Ball Meteors. Scooter is seemingly the only character to reappear from that episode, and I Can Be Your Friend is referenced with the musical lock. In this scene with the Super Graver, you can spot Larry's accordion from Schoolhouse Polka, the Robo Pogo from Princess and the Popstar, Noah's umbrella from Minnesota Cute, Crew's hat from Penniless Princess, and the Larryboy duffel bag from League of Incredible Vegetables. This license plate on the station wagon reads VT9313, which is a reference to the first episode, which released in 1993. The book of the Little Drummer Boy is being used as a stool by Spork in Who Are You?, a reference to the episode of the same name. And Pizza Angel makes a return towards the end of the episode. Also, if you listen carefully in the cafeteria, you can hear an instrumental of his cheeseburger different from the one I've previously shown you.
Can I get a straw for that?
The Bumbleyburg Science Museum from the League of Incredible Vegetables and the food court from Mary Larry make brief appearances in this scene, and a drawing of Junior's hero persona, Ricochet, can be seen in his room. Mr. Sly from The Case of Dr. Jiggle appears in a picture from Lanny's scrapbook, and in the silly song, you can see the album cover for Oh Veggies Where Art Thou? Also, in this newspaper, you can see a picture from the Penniless Princess with the headline, 2 French peas have tea with a small poodle. There are pictures from The Little House That Stood and McLarry, although I can't make out the headlines for them. The Gobbler poster from Minnesota Cuke reappears at the studio, and earlier you can spot the Tales from the Crisper poster in Junior's room. Bruce Onion makes reference to silly songs with this line here.
Hit the road, Jack. What you waiting for? A silly song?
And during Lanny's explanation, you can see a newspaper for Veggie Beat, which despite the different spelling is likely a reference to Veggie Beat magazine. You can also see numerous silly songs on Lanny's list of songs, and Al is using Twippo's star monocle from Jonah. The Veggietones can be seen playing at Julia's Malto shop from Minnesota Cuke, and you can spot some of the posters from Wicker's Theater backstage. You can see a signed album of the Hairbrush song in this radio station, and later Larry is heard whistling it. The Groovy Brothers from the previous episode get a mention by Larry, and we even see a songbook of theirs later. One of the states that the Veggietones visit is Oklahoma, which might be a reference to Lewis's play of the same name in Night Before Easter. We also see the theater from that episode in the music video, complete with Up With Bunny's posters. And now for the final episode of the series, Noah's Ark. The intro of the episode features the cover art of every episode prior to this one, possibly as a reference to this being the final direct-to-DVD episode. Bob and Larry briefly allude to the new character designs on the countertop, and Noah's umbrella from Minnesota Cuke makes a most fitting return. The puzzle that Neil puts together is of the Jonah poster, and the whale from Jonah makes a final appearance during the wave scene. And with that, I've covered every single episode of Veggietales. However, this isn't the end, as in the next part, I'll be taking a look at the Veggietales theatrical movies, as well as any bonus material I otherwise wouldn't have a chance to talk about. So if there were any references I missed, let me know and I'll bring it up in the next video. If you haven't seen the previous part, I'd appreciate it if you give them a watch. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I thank you for watching. Bye!